Much different than the game after we were 8-3 last year. I don't think there's a soul in here that's surprised. That's just cool as the way we come to play football. I'm just so proud of how we operate. We need to keep this going, but great job as an entire team. Very proud to be a part of this.
Hey, great win, boys. Good effort. Let's keep this shit rolling, man. Finish on 3. 1, 2, 3. Love y'all. Let's get it, baby.
Coach Matt LaFleur joins us. And Matt, how does it feel to defeat the defending Super Bowl champs, and you did it wire to wire?
Yeah, that was a great team win. I think every phase obviously had a significant impact on the game. So proud of our guys. I feel like we're coming together as a football team. We're getting better and better and better. But we got to continue to prove it because it's only one game. That is a damn good football team. Got a lot of respect for their coaches, their players, and just the consistency that they perform. But just really happy for our guys.
Young Jordan Love really outplayed the great Patrick Mahomes.
He's not looking so young anymore. He's doing a great job, just allowing us to be pretty aggressive offensively, and I think there's so much trust in him. I think our O-line's doing a really good job protecting him, and the guys around him are getting better, and they're making plays for him, and that makes his job easier. But I can't tell you how much trust and belief that we have in him just to call some of the things that we've been calling, and he's going out there and performing at a high level.
Welcome back to Outcoach Sports. I am here with Mr. Mclain. What we're going to do is review Week 13. Not all of the games. You know how we do it. We talk about a few key games and key situations, and then we just move on, folks, and do what we do. We don't copy anybody. We don't have scripts. What's on this paper
Is what you see.
is nothing but the results. That's all. We don't have a script, folks, so we don't need one. So anyway.
You sure about that? Have you seen me?
Well, you know what? I think the only time you really need a script is like sometimes when you're going through
When I
rankings.
go off script.
Oh, when you go off script. But
Because
that's
anytime
what
you talk about LeBron, I take it.
But see, that's what makes this show special, folks, because you never know what we're going to bring up in talking about regular games, to be honest with you. The first game that I would say that we should focus on is Seattle and Dallas. I mean,
Thursday night, yeah.
That was a shootout.
Seattle put up a surprising fight.
Yeah.
And it was good, and we talked about it last time, for Dallas to beat a quality opponent.
Right. Here's the problem. Okay. Exactly. So there's a glaring weakness with Dallas going against Seattle. That's a team that, if you're really that good,
you should blow the doors off.
You should not only score 41 points, but you should hold them
15
under
or 20.
Exactly. That's what the problem is, folks. Now, I believe next week they play Philly, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that when that comes up. You got any other thoughts on that game? Or?
Nah, don't care.
Don't care.
Fuck Dallas. Every week I gotta get my one in there. You folks know it.
That's right. Cool ahead. But anyway, now, one other game that I want to talk about up front, only because it may have implications as in terms of job security, perhaps. 6-0. And
we talk about it. Brandon Staley's been on our radar for about a month now.
Yeah.
And I think he's on the hot seat. We've known it. Even though he beat the lowly Patriots 6-0, and still, you're kidding me. That offense with Justin Herbert, you could put up 6 points. That's what you can do? Come on now.
Christ. And another one, and look, I gave him credit because I did a special segment about him. And I'm going to get into the Thursday night game on the next segment. But I'm going to talk about the Arizona loss that Pittsburgh had. Look here. You're at home. There is no way you're supposed to let a West Coast team like Arizona walk in there and smack you around like they just did.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for that. I'll get into that further in the next segment. But we had a weird score. Never happened before in NFL history. And that game, Miami and those damn Commanders football team,
Awful game. Awful.
45-15 has never happened.
Wild.
So that's the first time. I forgot what term they call that. It's some weird term. We'll look it up and, somehow it'll appear like down here or something like that.
On the tracker tape, like ESPN when you're watching Coming Next or whatever, on the bottom of the screen. Yeah. So we're not that quite high quality or high budget.
But hey, I'm sure you guys are liking what y'all seeing around the video, folks. So, hey.
That's all that matters. We're having fun. Y'all having fun. That's what matters.
That's right.
Original.
Here's one that we're almost to the game that, he wants to talk about.
Yeah,
But I'm going to talk about this one first. San Fran has shown.
Let's talk about it.
They have shown that they are world beaters. And they're going to be, if they stay healthy.
That's the key we've talked about.
If they stay healthy, they may be the potential.
If the San Francisco stays healthy, nobody's beating them. They made Philly look like a third-grade team out there. It was a joke.
Right.
But if they lose Debo, they lose McCaffrey, they're done for.
Exactly.
But those guys stay healthy, they're beating the doors off of whoever they play. That's the only team that is an exception to the any given Sunday type of year.
Exactly.
And we showed that it was supposed to be this big matchup. And now Philly, who did have a tight grip on the division, now has to go into Dallas on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see.
We'll get into it more in the next segment, but, he brings up one hell of a point. I'm going to talk the Monday night game so I could give him his proper due on the other game. So, who the hell is the quarterback for the Bengals? All of a sudden, they had this mysterious quarterback that came out there and beat Jacksonville in overtime.
Well, and the other thing is about that Monday night game is, and I think he avoided another AFC quarterback on the turf.
Yeah.
We've seen it plenty of times this year.
Talking about Lawrence. Yeah.
We've seen, because who's out for, Watson's out for the year, Burrow's out for the year. When Lawrence went down, we thought it was serious. He might play on Sunday, which is tomorrow. He might play, but if he doesn't, he'll be back the next week. So that is good for Jacksonville, because I think even if he's out for a week, they'll still get into the playoffs, and they need him healthy to go far. He's their ticket.
And here's the thing, to be determined about Cincinnati. Let's see if this quarterback is the real deal. I'm not even going to mention his name. So we're going to wait until this upcoming week to see if he's going to put up those numbers.
And that was a really entertaining game, which I don't think anybody thought it will be when Burrow was out.
No, the ticket sales
it went way down. We talked about it. Went 250 to 50.
So, Mr. Love has shown up and beat the world champs. Let's talk about that one, Mclain.
Okay. Well, first of all, it was fantastic to see.
Right.
It was great to see. And I've been talking about it for the past month. Jordan Love is getting really, really comfortable and starting to play good football.
Yeah.
And we talked about at the beginning of the year how they might. This isn't Rodgers Packers, where if a guy drops the ball, Rodgers doesn't throw it to you anymore.
Right.
He throws it to Jordan throws it to whoever's open.
Wow.
And there's not a lot of expectations on this football team, so they're playing free. And
finish your point.
And to go out on Sunday night, if you're a football fan and a December at Lambeau Field, a cold December night at Lambeau Field doesn't make you feel alive and doesn't give you chills, that doesn't hype you up, then I don't think you're alive.
Right.
If you're not a football fan and that doesn't make you feel something,
right,
then nothing excites you.
So, you guys saw the clip at the beginning, because there's a clip at the beginning with LaFleur talking about Jordan Love and some highlights. And I also have some other highlights at the beginning of the clip. Jordan Love has shown up and shown out. Can this be sustained?
I think
Are they going to win the division off of this?
no, they won't.
Lions
Because Detroit
still.
will not win it. Detroit's not going to lose enough games. Green Bay is 6-6, and now if it was Rodgers Packers, they have New York on Monday night. They have the lowly Giants. The Giants suck. If it was Rodgers Packers, they'd probably end up losing that game because that's just the way that they rolled.
Is Detroit as good as advertised?
I think so.
Okay.
I think Detroit is flexible enough and can fit in any situation that makes them as good as they are.
Okay.
But also, if you look at the Packers, the rest of their games, they don't have anybody outside of. I think they have Detroit one more time, don't they?
I think so.
Yeah, outside of Detroit, they don't have anybody. They got the Vikings, they have the Giants, they have the Bucks. It's a really bad schedule.
Wow.
And there's no reason why they can't win the next 5 or 6 games. And who knows if they can stay hot. Watson tweaked that hamstring late on Sunday night. And overall, for every terrible game the NFL gives us, that was an exciting game. And I know we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about the refs, right?
Right.
Because that last minute of football that we saw was awful. First off, and the star power was out in Green Bay. Simone Biles was there along with Taylor Swift. Every eyes were on Green Bay, and that was cool. That doesn't make you feel alive because it gets me going.
What is wrong with Kansas City?
So again, we talked about it before the game. They don't have a number one receiver outside of Kelsey, and they're not in sync with one another.
Yeah.
But
Are they going to lose the division because of this?
no.
Okay.
Because the Broncos did lose to Houston on Sunday.
Houston
They
is
put up
very
a good fight, but they did lose.
Yeah.
So it's their division still to lose. But you look at the last minute of officiating. First off, it was not an unnecessary reference on Jonathan Owens. Awful call.
Mm-hmm.
The man was in bounds. Terrible call. I was up screaming at the TV, literally. And then 2 minutes later, awful call when I don't remember who the D-back was, jumped on MVS's back. That was a pass interference. There's no question. And they didn't call it. But awful officiating all around. And then they're talking about the Hail Mary. Nobody ever calls it.
Right.
They don't throw anything on that.
No.
And I was watching that game, and I watched Tom Grossi is a YouTuber. He's from Wisconsin. And you can tell he's full Wisconsin because on his desk during the Sunday night game, he had Spotted Cow. It's a Wisconsin beer. You guys should go check him out. Anyway, had a great reaction to that last minute of how every Packer fan was feeling.
Right.
But overall, it was a great game, great atmosphere, and I was obviously happy with the outcome. Also, the reason I love Sunday night games so much is because of, and obviously Brady is going to be in the commentary booth next year. It's going to be a cool novelty.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anybody beats Chris Collinsworth when it comes to announcing.
Oh, yeah.
He is fantastic.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts on that.
Hey, we can end that week off on that note because, I mean, I was very, very surprised, and I actually enjoyed Green Bay doing what they did to Kansas City.
You're one win closer to me wearing the cheese head like I promised. If they make the playoffs, you have a cheese head on this head the next episode. That's coming, folks. Be ready for it.
So we're going to talk about Week 14 in the next segment.
A lot to work on, but in terms of how the game unfolded, thought the significant difference, they got 7 points off of their turnover. On the short field, we got 0 off of ours. And so that's the difference in the game. And usually it is the turnover component and your ability to support each other on the other side of it, or inability. And that was the difference in the game in terms of the outcome. So that's disappointing. From a health standpoint, Alex Highsmith wasn't able to return. He's got a neck injury of some description. I'll have more information for you, obviously, the next time we come together. Compliment those guys. They made the necessary plays. We didn't. I thought we fought in the second half, but to come up short on the turnover in terms of the points is the difference of the game. Questions?
What went into the 4th and 2 call, Mike, and was that the primary call?
It was. We were down there. We played to win. We wanted to be aggressive, and we just didn't get it done.
What would you see on the punt there at the end when they called the on Christian?
You know, I was given an explanation. I don't know that I agree with it, but I was given an explanation.
Like, what led to the issues stopping Zappy in that first half?
You know, they did a nice job early on in the game. We got out-leveraged some, you know, and so you got to give them credit.
Mike, what did you see out of Mitch tonight?
I thought he got better as the game went on. Obviously, wasn't the type of start we needed. They were really good on possessions down. They're collective, the things they threw at him and us. But I thought he improved as the game went on.
Like back-to-back weeks where the opposing tight end has a big game. What's been the challenge defending the tight end the last couple of weeks?
You know, we're minus some of our people in there and just trying to find the correct mix. I mean, we've played some good tight ends. So that's kind of been a component of it as well.
Mike, with back-to-back losses against these teams, where do you guys go from here? What is the direction of
We get ready for our next opportunity next week. It's what we always do. Obviously, this stings, but we'll be back.
Mike, at any point did you consider putting Mason in the game?
I did.
Mike, what gives you the confidence that you guys can be back after 2 losses?
Because this is what we do. This is who we are.
All right, we're back to talk about week 14. I mean, dude, we're coming to the end of the season. Next week, I'm going to start talking about playoff scenarios. That way, that'll be one little segment where I can say, hey, this is what's happening. This is
like they do every week. We see division leaders, wild card, and then in the hunt.
Exactly.
We'll start doing one of those on the screen, and Croc can put it up there because he's the editor and all that fun stuff.
We'll have some fun with it, folks. That's all we do here is having fun. I am going to trash myself here. I gave Mike Tomlin all sorts of credit on my special segment. Here's the thing. You know, I always felt like Pittsburgh is well coached, but they're not well prepared. That's something that I'm starting to realize about Tomlin and the Steelers. Now, is it totally his fault? I don't know how much say-so that he has over the roster. Because, like I said in the last special update or special episode, imagine how Pittsburgh will look with a Justin Herbert back there. Imagine how they will look. And a lot of people don't like him, but I say he could be a damn good Steeler. Kirk Cousins. If they just had just that oomph of a quarterback.
Even it talks about like I don't remember who we were talking about where they said they just needed an average quarterback at best to be a good football team, and I don't think it was. It wasn't Pittsburgh, but it was anyway. They are one of those teams that New York, the Jets.
Yeah.
A competent quarterback.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. New England, too. Because, I mean, as much of a train wreck as the Patriots look, they're really a quarterback away from actually being a decent team.
They got a good defense.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, that's the problem with both New England and Pittsburgh.
But that's that's a lot of teams.
I see what you're saying, but I can't say that.
But it is, with those teams, it's more prevalent than the others.
Right, because, see, you can say that about a lot of teams, but here's the problem. Their defense is not that good.
Their defense is not, no.
Because, I mean, you think about the Chargers, and you know how bad I keep wanting to say San Diego. When you look at the LA Chargers, I mean, hell, how many teams would love to have Herbert back there calling the plays?
29.
Exactly. But
I mean, there are very few teams in the NFL that I would say, I'm going to keep our guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you got, Kansas City?
That's probably one of the...
Cincinnati?
Well, that may start coming into question if his ass keep getting injured every year. You know,
Jacksonville?
Cleveland?
Cleveland's taking Herbert.
Of course.
Hell, Miami would even take Herbert. I would if I'm the Dolphins.
Well, they probably should have taken Herbert in
that
draft.
Anyway.
Yeah,
that's
revisionist.
beside the point.
That's revisionist history, but still, the whole point that I'm making off of that one game is both of them are a quarterback away, and then it's like the GM is in the way of the coach.
And also another, and we've said it every week, Thursday night games are not allowed to be good. Yet we had another shitty one.
There you go. All right, so what games you want to talk about?
It's another week of a lot of bad games. If you don't, and I personally, I don't like the Cowboys or the Eagles. I hate the Cowboys worse than the Eagles, but I'm not a fan of either team. But if you're a fan of one of those two teams, you have a great battle coming up.
Yeah.
And if you're just a football fan in general, you're going to watch that game, and I'm going to be watching that game, just because it should be a good game. Is how does Philly bounce back from their loss? And also, is Dallas, to me, is the NFC's Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've won a bunch of games, but they haven't beat anybody good.
Right.
They Dolphins fold against anybody who's worth a crap.
All right, well, all right, since you put it that way, who would you have more confidence in, Miami or Dallas?
In what scenario?
In the scenario that they had to play a real good team right now. Like, let's just say they had to go against San Francisco.
Dallas. Here's why.
Okay.
Here's why.
Okay.
Micah Parsons is a difference maker on the defensive side of the football.
Okay.
And if he shows up, he can wreck a football game.
Okay.
Miami doesn't have that.
I would almost say, and you guys can say that in the comments.
Let us know.
For
this segment, say me to catch up. For this segment, that's my question of the week. His question, but we'll make it our question of the week for the football segment.
Right.
Who are you taking in a big game scenario like that? Miami or Dallas?
Exactly. Because I'm almost thinking it might be 50-50. Because neither one of them has proven anything.
Exactly, but we're going to see that this week. If Dallas proves it, they'll shut a lot of people up. Exactly. And the only guy that I can stand on Dallas is Dak Prescott. I've always respected him.
Very good.
Nobody else I can stand. But that's the big matchup you got on Sunday. Sunday Night Football, tune in. I'm tuning in, even if not for half the reason, to see Chris Collinsworth. And then on Monday night, you got my Packers to take care of business. You also have another Monday nighter. I think it's Buffalo and somebody, if I'm not wrong.
No, it's Tennessee and Miami.
On Monday night.
On Monday night.
Miami should take care of that.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Now switching over. Well, not switching over, but looking back on Trevor Lawrence's injury now, Jacksonville had their path to the number one seed. That went out the window.
Mm-hmm.
The number one seed in the AFC is now Miami's for the taking.
Okay.
You've got Baltimore up there, but it's also but even if Miami does get the number one seed, again, I don't know how faithful I am in their ability to win big football games, and we're going to find out come January. Maybe I'm wrong.
You know what? You spoke about Baltimore. They don't have a cakewalk game. They actually had the Rams, and the Rams have been looking good lately.
The Rams have been playing a lot better football. You're right. They're 6-6, and they're in the fight.
Yeah, and that's not a cakewalk for Baltimore. Baltimore has the advantage of being at home, but that's one of the games you have to watch. Not taken away from Jacksonville here because they have Cleveland. Cleveland still has the defense, and they're going to Ohio to play.
And is Lawrence going to go? That's a big thing.
Oh.
And you got to look at in your division is, even if he's 80%, you got to wonder, how confident are you that you can still make the playoffs if you sit him 1 week?
That's a tough one, folks.
And I think if I'm Doug Peterson and the Jaguars organization, I'm comfortable with sitting here for 1 week. Yes, because even though Houston might win the division, you have enough wins and you're going to win enough football games where it won't matter. You'd like to have that home playoff game, especially in front of that hungry Jacksonville crowd. But if you don't get it what's more important to you, a home playoff game or the healthier quarterback?
True. And you think about it, if Houston gets a higher seed, they may be going against a team that's fighting to get in, like a Denver, that may possibly knock them out.
And Denver played Houston tough last week. Wilson had an awful, awful game. His worst game we've seen in like 5 or 6 weeks, and they were still still in the game.
You made a hell of a point there. Another one that I would think would be somewhat interesting is Buffalo and Kansas City. And here's the thing. Kansas City really, really missed Tyreek Hill.
You know what's crazy? is Buffalo and Kansas City play each other this week,
Mm-hmm.
and I glossed over it because that's how bad Buffalo has been this year.
I know.
You would have asked me 3 months ago, at the beginning of the year, that would have been like a huge marquee matchup on the schedule is Buffalo and Kansas City because, oh my God, Allen and Mahomes have had these battles, and maybe we'll get another one. Who knows? But I glossed over it.
Here's the funny part. If Kansas City had either Davis or Diggs, how much better they would be.
Oh my God.
You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
God.
They literally just could take one or the other, and that'd be a whole different team.
Different ball game, nightmare ball game. Hell, even if they took a Christian Kirk, for example.
There you go.
Okay, somebody better than Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Awful.
And see, here now, we just made a double point without either one of us realizing what we just said. You got Josh Allen and you got those two receivers.
Why are you dog shit? Why are you not winning games? You got this stud defense that's supposed to be so good. You ain't doing nothing.
Dude, Buffalo's in trouble.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying they're in trouble. If Kansas City wins this game against Buffalo, I'm going to have to say somebody's on the hot seat there.
Dougie.
Yeah, and then on
Not
top
Doug McDermott. Wow. Oh, God, he's a basketball player. Sean McDermott.
of... You know what? Because I was like, hold up, what did I just say yes to? And I don't know. Would you say, and this is going to be controversial, would that put Allen on the verge of, like, being traded out of Buffalo?
No. It'd be too soon. Even after one unsuccessful year, you're not going to trade the guy. Look at the Packers. Sometimes they had bad years, and Rodgers never went anywhere.
Well,
look at how long Mike McCarthy had a job. That fat fuck was useless. All he was ever known for was challenge and the damn Celcon ads. He never could do anything else, though. I had to deal with him for like 12 years.
Okay, so some NFC team commanders decide, okay, we have multiple number ones. That's going to be very high, and they offer the Buffalo for Allen. You wouldn't look at that deal?
Look, Josh Allen says, I'm not being traded, then you're not trading him. If Josh Allen is open to a deal, and you trade him.
Okay.
But he's that level.
Now, this ain't happening, folks.
He's that level of quarterback to where he has... Again, it's a business.
Right.
But there are certain guys that have kind of earned that right and played their way into that right.
Right.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
You don't go trading that guy without asking him first. If he says he wants to stay in Buffalo, he's going to stay in Buffalo.
Now, this is an original thought, folks. So if any fat ass want to decide to go ahead and take that thought and run with it, look here first.
What Carl is getting at is
we're not naming names.
We are in full support of people because we have done it repeatedly. We take ideas that we've heard maybe here or there.
Right.
We're in full support of bouncing because it's a social community, right? We're totally okay with people taking things. If someone watches our channel and says, "Ooh, I like that," and wants to run with that idea, that's totally fine. But what we don't condone or endorse is taking it without giving the proper respects and flowers to where you took it from.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not going to take something from Tom Grossi and say it was my own original idea. I'm going to give him his flowers.
Exactly.
Because he's great entertainment. That's right. Go check him out.
Exactly.
That's what I want to hear. If you're going to take something, take it. I don't care. Run with it. But go say, I got this from Outcoach Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Give them their flowers. That's all. That is respectfully.
That is all.
Respectfully, that's what we're getting at.
All right.
Moving on, back to our list of games and
do you want to say that one of these important games, even though it's like this is an awful week, folks. I mean,
it is outside of Buffalo and Kansas City and Dallas and Philly. You got nothing. Who did you say the Rams had?
The Rams had Baltimore.
Rams had Baltimore, and that brings me up to we've talked about it before. How the coaching in the NFL is not really that good this year.
It's awful.
I think
situational coaching.
The one consistent when it comes to good coaching, it has been Sean McVay.
Yeah.
I don't think you can question that. He always has his team ready to go. They're always well prepared.
And then you can say the very same thing for John Harbaugh. So
yeah, a team that they're always So.
And speaking of good coaching, Seattle and San Francisco. I mean, regardless of what people may think about Pete Carroll, he has done one hell of a job with that team.
Yes, he has. I hate that gum chewing motherfucker.
And then somebody,
Great coach.
I'm telling you, San Francisco's coach, I mean, he's a chip off the old block there. I mean, Mr. Shanahan is really.
But don't they all come from that coaching tree? Didn't they all come from the Shanahan coaching tree? They all get Shanahan did.
Right?
I know
right.
McVay did.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel certainly did.
Yeah.
Look at the
Yeah. I mean, that tells you a lot, folks. I mean, quick, and, this is a revisionist history because these games suck, folks. All right.
And blow.
Suck and blow at the same time. So let's just go ahead and toss that
out the window.
And by the way, Arizona and Washington, they're on a bye. Nobody cares. And
they suck anyway. Even if they weren't in a bye, I wouldn't be tuning in, and neither would anyone else.
So, revisionist history here. Do you know that 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, had they moved in one early in 92 and one around 93, 94, how much different the NFL history would have been? The first one that I wanted to discuss, because we brought up Shanahan, this is the reason why Shanahan got the job in Denver. Because Dan Reeves wanted to trade John Elway. He made a call to Joe Gibbs and said, hey,
Washington,
I will give you John Elway and our number 1 for Mark Rippon and your number 1. What do you want to do? Joe Gibbs believed in Mark Rippon that much because he had just won the Super Bowl with him. And here's the thing. Mark Rippon held out the next year because his contract was up when they won the Super Bowl. Okay, so he signed a 1-year deal just to say, whatever. They made the playoffs. They got bounced by San Francisco. Joe Gibbs retired. Okay. But had he decided to pull the plug on Elway, mind you, Washington did not reach out to Denver. Dan Reeves wanted Elway to get the F out of Denver. He said, enough is enough with this guy. He's a prima donna. I don't want him. He can't win the big one. How much different that history would have been. Washington would have possibly won at least 2 more Super Bowls having Elway back there.
Yeah, because looking back, now 20
he
years
had the posse.
ago,
He had Gary Clark and all of them.
Looking back 20 years ago, he was one of the he was the toughest son of a bitch up there with Brett Favre.
Yeah,
he was that tough. He did anything you could do to win.
And here's the funny part: Elway wanted to leave. He didn't want to go to Baltimore, but he would have went to Washington.
You look at teams, for example, that one would have. Luckily, they didn't do it, but it would have been pull the plug too soon.
Yeah,
just like think all the times Indianapolis could have pulled the plug on Manning
after
all those losses to Brady, but they didn't do it.
Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Look where they get it. Only got him 1 Super Bowl. They made it to 2, and he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
And people are like, well, what's the second one, Carl? Detroit Lions. Okay, here's the scenario here. San Francisco. Okay, remember that play that Joe Montana against the New York Giants where he was going back, he was loading up, Leonard Marshall came from behind, took him out of the game, Steve Young replaced him and all of that. There was a scenario that Barry Sanders talked about. I heard this back in the day, okay, because I used to, believe it or not, as much as I hate the Redskins or whatever, I was around their training camp, and Marty Schottenheimer, God rest his soul, and Jimmy Ray, his offensive coordinator, they knew my Uncle Ken. We were all talking, like, on the sideline. People was wondering who the hell me and Ken was. Okay, they was like...
Didn't Schottenheimer end up coaching in San Diego?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Chargers coach for that 07 championship game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Ray and my uncle was talking. And one of the things he talked about then was, you realize Joe Montana almost went to Detroit. And I was like,
What?
I'm like, what? I'm like, what the hell are you talking
What
about?
world you were saying? Right?
You know, and basically he was saying the scenario was because San Francisco obviously did not want to trade him to another NFC team. Kind of like the situation with Brett Favre. I mean, why the hell would you trade him to Minnesota, your rival, and all of this other stuff, knowing that's where he wanted to go to? So they was looking for
Anybody else? Yeah.
basically in the AFC. Hell, they was offering it to, you know.
You can ship him to Hong Kong for all I care.
Remember, there was an expansion team that came out, Jacksonville, around that time.
96.
It was probably, I want to say this scenario happened because I want to say it was like 94. That was my thinking, but the timeline doesn't matter.
It had because Montana retired in 93. We're not talking about Montana, are we?
We are talking about
Yeah,
Montana.
he retired in 93.
So the scenario was that Detroit, Barry Sanders was pushing Detroit to make the trade with Joe Montana.
Okay.
And this is what Jimmy Ray was talking about. And then Schottenheimer comes over there. He was in a golf cart and all of this. What are you fellas talking about? And then it was like, you know, then Ray was saying, you know, I'm telling Ken about this trade and so forth. And, you know, Schottenheimer was like, yeah, you know, that's why Montana had to come to us. There was no way I was going to let, you know, that deal fall off the table or whatever, because I forgot who that quarterback was back then, but it was like, whatever. Schottenheimer was not going to let Montana go to Detroit. He was like, I would have given anything because, look, if I'm going to have a quarterback, it's going to be Joe Montana. But if I have a quarterback for one series, it'd be John Elway. That came out of Schottenheimer's mouth then.
And this type of stuff is the only kind of things you're going to get from a guy who lived it. You're not going to hear this from anybody else. This is straight from the source. He lived it.
Yeah. So I figure I'll just have just a little twist on something just to have some fun with it. Now, I've heard it on other, you know, arenas after the fact. Like, I've heard it on NFL.com, whatever this show is. I want to say it's like Rich Eisen or somebody like that.
Oh, yeah, he does have a show, yes.
Yeah, so I've heard it there, and I was like, I'd be damned. They were right. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, just a little fun fact there, folks, you know.
Tidbit at the end.
Yeah.
Talking about potential, obviously Montana later in his career at that point, but potential big-name quarterbacks on the move. Maybe Josh Allen. Just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. And now, there's no inside baseball on this one, folks. I mean...
This is just a spitball, and it literally came to his mind maybe before. It didn't come to my mind at all.
Because, I mean, here's the thing. Why I'm thinking Josh Allen. Because there's so many scenarios where I'm like, okay, he has the team around him to do what he needs to do. Why is it not working? You know, obviously, in a scenario like that, the coach is going to be gone before Josh Allen will be.
No question.
But
does he want to get moved?
There are scenarios where the player be like, I cannot play here. You know.
Well, who would want to play in Buffalo anyway? Trust me. Buffalo is cold, stadium sucks. Let's see. And if you've ever been to Buffalo and you've seen the women there, the city is aptly named. Let me just say that.
Hold up, man. Let's end on this one. Let's do a compare and contrast.
Okay. This is the last segment,
All
then we'll
right,
let you go. I know you guys. I gotta get home, watch the in-season tournament. You guys gotta get on with your lives. We'll wrap this thing up.
All right. What is the difference between playing in Green Bay and playing in Buffalo? That it is similar climates, similar fan bases as in terms of the following and so forth. So why would it be more desirable to play at Green Bay? Yes, I know the history, they title town, blah, blah, blah. But you're virtually talking about almost the same type of area.
I am, but there's two things that differentiate it. One, the stadium is a hell of a lot nicer than Highmark. It's not outside of Buffalo in the middle of nowhere. It's right in the residential area surrounded by bars and businesses, and the Packers and the city have done a great job of building up around it.
Okay.
2, you have the history of playing for the Packers is just it's like playing for the Lakers in basketball, or the Dodgers in baseball, or the Yankees.
So it's a historical.
They have the historical. Yeah, it's cold and impossible to get to.
Right.
But there's not a lot of history outside of Buffalo besides they lost 4 Super Bowls. But they weren't in the first Super Bowl. The Lombardi Trophy isn't named after the coach who played in Green Bay.
The Levy Trophy, you know what I'm saying?
The hallowed grounds of playing for the Packers is just something that you can't replicate.
True.
So the weather is similar, right?
And also, I put Buffalo's coach there as being funny, but go ahead.
Also, I get it, they're rich, but you got to think about the taxes and the cost of living in New York.
Yeah.
Versus living in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Basketball is the next segment with Mclain's Power Rankings and Cliff, who everybody knows and loves.
Will be joining us for that.
And
we're starting a new thing. We kind of previewed a little bit. I'm starting another new thing along my rankings, a question every single week to go along with my NBA rankings.
So look out for that question, and we'll tell you what to do with the answer. Put it in the comments. All right, next segment. We're back. We're talking about Mclain's Power Rankings, and Cliff has joined us to debate any possible changes that Mr. Mclain may have. So I'm just going to turn it over to him and let him explain his new top 10.
Short and sweet. I like it. All right, so we're recording this on December 9th. It is the NBA in-season tournament final tonight at 8:30, Lakers-Pacers. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but all I can say is it's produced really high-level basketball. Which we discussed it. We had a long discussion about it right before it started.
I'm surprised, yeah.
And how it seemed kind of dumb and silly and whatever on paper. But I think the fans have bought into it, and also you can see the players have really bought into it. And I think that was, even if it doesn't mean anything, if you get the players to play at a high level, that's all you can hope for, and I think we've really seen that.
Exactly.
So that leads me into my power rankings. Some things have changed, some things have not. Number 1, and they've been number 1 for, I think, 3 weeks now, Boston. Number 2, same, Minnesota. And we just talked about this before we came on. That Gobert trade looked terrible. Awful for however long it's been, like a year. I don't even remember what it is.
Yeah, almost a year, pretty much.
But it's looked awful. Now, the first part of the season, it's looked fantastic. And after 10 games, you're like, okay, maybe it's just a little blip on the radar, but we're 25 games in now, and I think it's sustainable. And when it comes to the Timberwolves, those fans, that fan base hasn't had anything to cheer about since what? Garnett left?
Yeah, I know.
20 years ago, so I'm happy for that fan base, and they're really exciting to watch.
Right.
So 3, cracking the top 5 for the first time this year, the Orlando Magic.
Okay.
They had a shot to go for a franchise record, 10 wins in a row. They lost to the Brooklyn Nets, but they did get 9 wins in a row, tying a franchise record. And then they lost to Cleveland on Wednesday night, but Banchero had a career-high 42. And then they took care of the lowly Pistons. I know it's not saying much. Friday night, they beat them by 30.
It's crazy.
But they've been 8-2 over the last 10, and it's really, we've seen how building for the draft has worked out for them.
Right.
Moving up a couple spots, even though they lost in the semifinal of the in-season tournament, Milwaukee.
Okay.
They've kind of integrated Damian seamlessly.
Right.
But you're seeing a few things with the Bucks. The critiques of them in the offseason were they're old.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of, they don't have a lot of great depth when it comes to role players.
Right.
They're still old. They traded for Damian Lillard. They didn't get any younger.
I know. Mm-hmm. But they got better at that position.
They did, and they're in a win-now mentality, and you have to be when you have those two guys.
Of course.
And they've integrated him seamlessly, and that's, which sometimes you don't know how quickly a guy like that is going to fit in.
Exactly.
So we've seen that. And then at 5, still with the play of Tyrese Maxey, who could win. You think he could win Most Improved? Has it been that big of a jump, or I don't know? I mean, it just...
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
For
it has
sure.
been that big.
Yeah.
It's not just, I haven't been watching the Sixers because I don't like them, and he's been playing well. I just think I've seen it big.
It's more of an improvement with Harden being gone. It's like, now I can be myself.
Yeah, it gives him more freedom to do what he needs to do on the floor.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So they're at 5. Since they're 7-3 and they are in the in-season tournament final, and it doesn't mean anything to anybody, but at 6, I have the Lakers. 7-3 of their last 10, and what you're seeing with the Lakers is they got blown up by the Thunder a couple weeks back, but you're seeing a team that's getting healthy. And when they're healthy, they're a scary basketball team.
Very much so.
Especially when you have LeBron playing at the level he's playing at, the efficiency he's playing at. It's another thing with his shooting, same as Gobert. We thought after 10 games it's kind of a blip. It's 25 games. He's having his best shooting season of all time.
Well, I'll wait till you finish your top 10, and I have a theory about that.
Okay, all right. So I have them at 6 just because they've been playing really good basketball, and their depth has been getting healthy. Hayes has been getting healthy. Reddish, Vincent still is now, but Vando's in the lineup now. Rui's back. They've been playing good basketball. 7, falling out of the top 5 for the first time this year, but still in the top 10 just because it's kind of a week-to-week thing. They're only 5-5 over the last 10. Denver.
Okay.
They're still Denver, but they're not. They have not been as efficient as we've known them to be, and they're 5-5, and they took a bad home loss last night to the Rockets.
Yeah.
That was insane. I was surprised about that part.
8 is still because of their record. I think they're 4th or 5th in the West, even though they're only 5-5. Dallas.
Okay.
They have star power. They've been healthy. Dallas.
All right.
Yeah.
9, and I realized I made a mistake here. I'm bumping them down. So 7. Go backtrack to 7. 7 is the Thunder.
Okay.
They're 7-3 over the last 10. Their young guys are starting to look really good, and Shea is playing like a superstar player.
Yeah, I think this might be an MVP year.
He could be in the conversation, top 3
Definitely,
for him. Yeah.
top 3 for sure.
Yeah. So then they're 7. So I have the Nuggets at 8 and the Mavs at 9. And then just because I think they have 2 quality wins in the past week over the Bucks and the Celtics to put them in the in-season tournament final, the play of Tyrese Halliburton, putting them at 10 is a solid choice. They're 6-4 over the last 10. It may or may not be sustainable, but I'm putting them at 10. And then just outside the top 10, I have the Kings at 11. And that gets me thinking. You look at you always like to see, obviously, there's clear winners and losers in trades, right?
Yeah.
The Halliburton and Sabonis to the Kings trade, flipping those two, I think both teams, looking down the line, have won.
Right.
Because look at both teams and where they're at. I think both those teams in that trade get an A.
Yeah.
And what was your thought on the shooting of LeBron James?
Well, here's the thing. LeBron has been taking a lot of crap over the past 2 years, and when they won the title, he took a lot of crap because they was like, well, it's a strike short of the season, blah, 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 all of this stuff. I think he just said, you know what? I'm going to cancel out all this noise. I'm going to let y'all talk about Jordan. I'm going to let y'all talk about whoever. And I'm going to go out there and show you why I'm LeBron. And he just took it upon himself. You guys say I have no heart. You guys always say that I always fall short. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm playing with my son. My son just had, that heart issue. I ain't going out like this. I'm going to go out strong. So for the next 2-3 years, you're going to see prime LeBron now. And I dare anybody else to come behind me within the next 50 years and do what I just did these last 3.
And you bring up a good point about Bronny James is expected to make his debut for USC tomorrow night. Yep, his college debut with the Trojans tomorrow night, which will be good for me as a Laker fan, so I don't lose LeBron for a game. But you do make a point of he just letting his game do the talking. And he's still breaking records at his age. He's the first Laker since Magic or something. I don't remember the stats. To do whatever he did on. Who did they beat the Pelicans. They blew him out by 30. And he had 30 points in 23 minutes. And he had 35 and 5. It's the only Laker to ever do that or something.
Oh, I remember that. Him and Kobe or some shit like
that.
Yeah,
the only and
the only two.
Yeah, because Kobe probably did that in that 81-point game or whatever.
Yeah. And then just the way he's been, he'll look like dog crap. Well, not like dog crap, but he won't look very good for 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 4th quarter, he'll just go from here just to a whole nother level.
Yeah, he just takes over.
The other night against Phoenix, he had 16 points going into the 4th quarter. He finished with 31 points. He had 15 4th quarter points. He's either first or second in 4th quarter point averages this season.
Right.
And the other stat you look at, and it's been the same way for 3 or 4 years now. All these young guys are on these lists of whatever points per game, and then there's LeBron.
I know.
Now the official oldest player in the league.
Yeah.
He has the 3rd most points in the paint in the NBA behind Giannis Antetokounmpo and Zion Williamson.
And see, that's what we're talking about, folks. I mean, that's why I've replaced Jordan with LeBron, and it's nothing. Look, just like I've said many times before, I was a Montana guy, Joe Montana. You couldn't tell me there was no quarterback that was better than Joe Montana until Brady proved to me otherwise. Now, same thing with Jordan. It was like, you couldn't tell me nothing about Mike. I didn't buy into the 6 finals thing because in between those 3 peats, somebody knocked his ass out of the playoffs. People did not want to mention. Nobody wanted to mention, oh, yeah, by the way, the Magic did, take y'all out 4 games to 2 or whatever, and he walked off the court crying. You know what I'm saying? Nobody mentioned that. But it's like every comparison, it's like you can take stats and flip them any way you want. So you think about how many times LeBron been to the finals. You think about how many times Magic Johnson been to the finals. Both of them been to the finals more than Jordan. Hell, John Havlicek has more rings than Jordan.
I'm pretty sure Kobe went to more finals than Jordan too.
I think so.
7-2.
I think so.
He went to so they went to the Shaq and Kobe era. Didn't they go to 4 straight finals?
Yeah.
When they brought in Malone, the molester.
They lost to Detroit.
Josh Giddey! They lost to Detroit, and Darvin Ham, interestingly enough, was on that Detroit team.
Yeah.
Head coach of the Lakers. The guy standing in his pockets all the time. Yeah. Anyway, so they went to 4 there, and then Kobe went to 3 straight. So he went to 7 finals. He went 5-2.
Mm-hmm.
So he got blown out by 30 in Game 6, and you have the classic anything is possible, Garnett line.
Right.
And then he won 2 in a row. He beat the Magic in 5 games, and then he beat the Boston Celtics in Game 7, 93-89 in Game 7 of 2010.
That was a great Game 7.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
Great Game 7. Meta World Peace led the way. And D-Fish clutch.
The whole point.
We're getting off track here. Sorry, folks.
No, the whole point that I wanted to make was the fact that you can spin a stat anyway. I mean, because if you look at rings, Robert Horry, what he has? 7.
Bob, yeah.
Yeah. So Havlicek has 7.
Bills.
And if you look at his stats, they're comparable to Jordan's. Go back and do a Wikipedia on John Havlicek and look at his stats and look at Jordan's stats. They're very similar. And you'd be like, well, how come they're not talking about him as one of the greatest of all time or whatever? Because people will spin anything the way they want for their favorites. The thing that you have to look at with MJ, he was the favorite of the media era. LeBron is the favorite of the social media era. That's how I look at it. It's a marketing thing.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the real stats, look how long LeBron is putting up these numbers versus Jordan. And Jordan quit a couple of times in between.
Yeah.
LeBron has played all the way through.
Look at the thing that I realized this the other night, and this is not Jordan versus this is just think about how much has changed since 2003.
Yeah.
Not only in the game of basketball, I have a magazine at home. It's a look. In 2003, the average points in a game for a team was 94.3. Today, it's 114.
Right.
The average 3-point shots attempted was 15.
Yeah.
Today, it's 34.5.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how much the game has changed and how much he's been able to evolve. When LeBron came in the league, he was not a shooter.
Oh, not even sliders.
He was not, just to evolve. And also, another stat was, and this might blow you away for those of you who are watching on, are we on Twitter?
Not yet, but we can be.
Are we on Instagram? Oh, Coach on Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're not on Facebook. We're on YouTube and we're on Instagram. We're not on Twitter.
We're going to be on TikTok. We're going to be on all of these platforms pretty soon. So
2003, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram did not even exist.
True.
That is how long LeBron James has been doing this. It didn't even exist. Paulo Banchero, the guy who just dropped 42 the other night, was 11 months old.
Wow.
It makes me feel old. I'm not even that old.
Yeah. I was 2.
But the point that I'm trying to make is let's just appreciate greatness, not only with LeBron, but with also these older guys, like Kevin Durant, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it look so effortless.
Right.
I don't like Durant. I'm not a Durant fan. I thought when he went to the Warriors, whatever. He's 35 years old, and he makes it look effortless.
Here's something funny, folks. In 2003, I was in my 30s, so that tells you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
I was a young buck out there.
I was 5. I was 5 years old when LeBron ran on the court at Sleep Train Arena, October 29th, 2003.
That's scary, but
that
is scary.
Yep. So that's all I'm saying is appreciate greatness while you have it, because when it's going to be gone, it's sad.
Yeah.
Especially with a guy who blows out, for example, Durant, a guy who blows out his Achilles and then comes back pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Look what happened to Kobe when he blew out his Achilles.
Now, if some AI or alien watches this 30 years from now, whoever that great player is, everybody has greatness in their own time. Even Muhammad Ali said this. He was great for his time. Marciano was great for his time. Joe Louis, whoever. Appreciate what's in front of you folks. I mean, you may never see that again.
Exactly.
Like Bill Russell. He won 13 rings. He has more rings than fingers.
We've never seen that, and as long as I've been alive, LeBron James has been one of, if not the best basketball player on the planet.
Yeah. And you may never see that again.
I don't know a world where he's not.
Right.
You do, because you're a lot older than me.
Yeah.
So it's not
it's
not so weird to you.
Yeah.
To me, it's going to be really, really weird, because I don't know a world where it's not late May, and if you turn on ESPN, guess who's going to be on that screen? LeBron James. It's just like I know that tennis, for example. Tennis is not super popular. If you turn on the U.S. Open or the French Open or the Australian Open or Wimbledon, you are going to, not anymore because he retired, but for 20 years there, you were either going to see one of 3 guys: Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal. That to grow up to be in an era of not only did we get to witness to be alive in the era of Brady and those 3 great, and LeBron and Ronaldo and Messi, we got a pretty special.
Yeah, I know. So appreciate what you have in the now, folks. And then look at the past as, part of history. Appreciate it. Let them have their moments. Everybody has their moments. It's time to stop hating on LeBron. Let the man, enjoy his success.
And
he deserves it more than anybody else.
And hating on Durant and whatever. I hated on Durant I liked Durant when he was in OKC. He left for Golden State. I hated on him. He got to Brooklyn, and after he tore his Achilles, I let it go.
Yeah.
I let bygones be bygones. I said, whatever. Look at what we have in front of us.
Yeah.
To my mind, he's the greatest scorer we have ever seen on all 3 phases of the game.
Yeah.
But it's also insane that he's still like 12,000 points behind LeBron.
I know.
But it's injuries, folks, is what it is. But anyway, I let it go, and I just said appreciate what we have in front of us.
Exactly.
Is there anything you want to add? What do you have to say? Anything about my ranks? Would you like to change anything? Because we've kind of been...
Yeah, no.
Talking around Mr. Cliff.
No, you're good. Honestly, like I said off camera, I had no complaints on this. Like, comparing to the last 10 games, there's nothing wrong with the list.
You're not going to meat ride your Miami Heat?
It's not how you start; it's how you finish. I just want to put it out there. But no, honestly, it's a great list. I can't complain. Everyone's playing great basketball. The competition's at its highest point right now, still being very early in the season. Like, it hasn't even been the end of December yet. We still have a whole another half. I just want to see how everything will play out because, injuries are always an effect.
Injuries are the key.
That's the main thing.
They really, really are.
Because half of this list could be gone if one
guy goes down.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Kings. When Fox went out, they were nothing.
Mhm.
So
yeah,
you take Tatum off the Celtics, they're gonna struggle.
Yeah,
they are.
You saw him against my Heat.
Think about this, folks. With basketball, you have one injury. That's 1/5 of your starting
Yeah, that's the
lineup.
thing. Is there's one guy can do so much of everything. It makes it hard when you lose that one guy.
Exactly.
Unless you're the Pistons and you're just dog water. I'm just completely off topic. Dog water. And Jalen Rose, I don't feel bad for you. You suck. How do you lose 19 games in a row? You're a professional basketball organization. Have some self-respect.
Yeah.
How can you be that bad?
Yeah.
I don't understand
want to be the Wizards.
Yeah, but how can you be that bad?
Right.
Sign me up for a 10-day contract.
I mean, you can't make it any worse. They're not like they're winning.
I can make them win one.
I can make them win nothing, but I just be out there. What's up? High five. just having a good old time. Yeah.
But no, they're all pretty young. There's not really much vets on the Pistons. It's a learning experience, I feel like. Just like the Wembanyama thing.
Banana?
Yeah. He's losing the last 5-6 games? It's a learning experience. You have to learn how to lose to win. That's how it always is. But my guy, the twins, the Thompson twins, bro.
They showed out.
Chef's kiss. I love them. I just wish they were on the same team. That's all I ask. But you can't ask for too much. You just can't.
You can't ask for everything. Yeah. And in other news, let's see. Oh, since we've gone off topic, I'm going to go off topic a little more. Bear with me. A couple things. One, for those baseball fans out there, we've all been sitting on pins and needles waiting for Shohei Ohtani to make his decision.
That's right.
So, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago when Harper signed with the Phillies, it kind of started this tradition of we're going to sign these superstar players to big contracts, long contracts, 10 years, $300 million, and then you had 2020, which was Mookie.
Yeah.
I think it was 12-year, $365.
That's right.
With L.A.
Yeah.
Then you had Trout at 12-year, $426.
Right.
My buddy and I, Andrew Richard and I were talking, buddy back home, we figured, Shohei, 10 years, $590 or something.
Mm-hmm. That's insane, folks.
He blew it out of the water today. 10 years, $700 million. I
saw that today.
Everything guaranteed.
That is $750 million.
That's $70 million a year. And he didn't move very far. He went across town to the Dodgers. He went from Angel Stadium, 12 miles up the road, to Dodger Stadium.
Good job, Magic.
He wanted to stay in L.A., and if you're going to do that, why would you play for the... I love the Angels, but they're dog shit.
Right.
Why would you stay with the Angels when you can go to the Dodgers? Just the history and things that are behind that. So we're about to see. But that is the big news for today. And then a couple days ago, the GTA 6 trailer finally dropped, and the world was going nuts. But I'm going to leave it at that unless you guys have anything else to add. We are going to take a short break, and we're going to try something new. Obviously, I left y'all with a question last week. I'm going to try something called every single week, along with my power rankings. It's called Mclain's Question of the Week. So my question for this week is, talking about the Orlando Magic. You've got two guys in Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner that are averaging close to, actually Franz is over 20 points, and Banchero might have just creeped over it. Anyway, averaging close to all-star stats.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Who do you think is deserving to make the all-star team? Is it both? Is it none? Or is it just one? And if it is just one, who is it between those two guys?
Put it down in the comments, folks. Put your answer down there to Mclain's Question of the Week. And maybe one day, I'm not doing it right now, you might get a prize at some point. But you ain't doing it this week. You're just going to answer the damn question. And I'll put it down in the comments. All right, folks. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to Outcoach Sports. We will catch you on the next go-round. Until then, stay cool.